3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody. John Townsend here. Welcome to Dr. Townsend Live. It's our little corner of the universe where we answer your questions, whatever your questions are about life, relationships, struggle, emotions, spiritual growth, leadership, business, family, sort of the things that everybody has their more significant conversations about. And we're here for an hour every Wednesday from 2 to 3 Pacific, and we're live. That's why the word live is there. And we try to do a couple of things to make it helpful to you. One is we want to give you something that goes below the surface, like, so why do I keep picking the wrong people? Well, stop doing it. Well, that's not really kosher. Or how do I make my business work better? Well, work harder. Well, that was revolutionary. I mean, there's always a why under things, and sometimes we aren't. When we're in our family or our marriage or our relationships or our business, we're kind of like the fish that doesn't know he's wet or she's wet because we're in there. And so having a voice that says, let's look at this, we try to give you a why to help you understand the deeper reasons. And then some kind of action step will take care of it. And we also try to give mercy on the action steps, because sometimes I've been to so many places where the action step is, all you got to do is stop doing everything this way and do 40 hours a week of what we're doing. I'm like, you can't do that. So, like, I don't know, one conversation, 10 or 15 minutes to make it so there's about movement, because change, we know this from the neuroscience, is about movement. If it might be the wrong movement, but it's movement. It's a lot better than passive stuckness and paralysis, that sort of thing. And so our great producer, Stacy's here. Hi, Stacy.
Hey there, John.
Tell everybody about how they can get hold of us and all the good things involved there.
Sounds great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Dr. Townsend Live Show today. We're so glad that you're here with us for this hour. And if you're joining us via one of Dr. Townsend's media platforms, whether that be Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn Live, YouTube Live, Instagram, any one of them, you know that this is a call-in show. So the call-in number, if you want to take this down, is 1-877-853-5257. Again, that is 1-877-853-5257. And once you dial that number, you'll need to enter meeting ID code 876-5437-2012. Again, the ID code is 876-5437-2012. You will enter the waiting room, and then once you're connected with Dr. Townsend, be sure and tell him your first name only and where you're calling from. And without further ado, let's get started.
I got an ado to go further. Can I do an ado?
Sure, go right ahead.
One more ado. Everybody likes swag. I love swag. I love all stuff that's just kind of merch. And we've got one for you. It's free. If you've ever had a conversation that didn't work right, and you're going like, how do I handle these difficult conversations with somebody that's difficult to talk to because they're defensive, or they act like a victim, or they threaten, or they escalate, or whatever, or they change the subject or make you the problem, all the things that people do. And I can't solve that conversation. I mean, if you've been watching the program for a while, you'll see how often we'll do a role play on how to have a conversation. We have something for you that'll fix it all. You'll never have a difficult conversation. Well, you'll have a difficult conversation, but you'll have a better outcome than frustration, tearing your hair out, and drinking too much because it didn't go well. We have something to make it better. And it's called how to have a difficult, I'm saying it right. How to have an effective, difficult conversation. It's a card. The card we have, I don't have it with me right now. Yeah, dude. I'm so proud of it. Here it is. So we just thought people always need that skill. So it's called Essential Elements of an Effective, Difficult Conversation. There's the steps you take. You got to tell the person that you're on their side and you're for them first, and you got to get to the problem, the structure. The other side is skills to manage the conversation. How do you prepare for it when you're anxious and you feel like I'm not doing it right? So the steps and the skills. And if you just go to my website, drtownsend.com, and go to resources, our wonderful web team just put it on there, and you can download it for yourself and have it. And if you say, I hate cardboard is a bad thing. When you download it, you'll get the QR code on it, and then you can put it on your iPhone, your Android, and then you can have the steps. So when you get ready to talk to that lunatic in your head, you can either go, excuse me a second, one step on my, or you can go, excuse me a second, and you can find it on your phone. But people like a structure for solving problems, and you can get it, and it's yours. And what do you know that? So that's where we are. That's your swag for the day. Who we got up, Stacy?
Okay. Caller, you have entered the live show with Dr. Townsend. Go ahead with your first name and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Stacy, and I live in New Jersey.
Hi, Stacy.
Hi, I actually just saw you a few weeks ago at the Tabernacle in Ocean City.
I loved being in Ocean City at that Tabernacle. Oh my gosh, it was so cool.
Well, we loved having you. It was such a great talk, and I just enjoyed it so much.
Thank you. And I love Johnson's popcorn with and I just embarrassed myself, but I don't care because it was great popcorn. If you guys know where Stacy's from, in New Jersey, there's two ocean places, Atlantic City with all the casinos, and there's Ocean City, which is a small, kind of quiet, very nice place. And the church had me speak and meet a ton of people. And great. Anyway. So Stacy, what's your question today? If it cannot be about popcorn, but it can be about anything else you want to talk about.
I think I'm good on popcorn.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have a question. So if you are, I just had a situation recently where I tried for the very first time, believe it or not, in my whole life to draw a boundary in a relationship. I have a really hard time doing that. I'm kind of working with a therapist through some of those, issues. And so it was the first time, that I really kind of stepped out, and I had a talk, with someone and just expressed, that it would be helpful for me if, if they could do something or try to do something. And they were very receptive, and he thanked me for telling him that. And, conversation was brief, but I thought it went really well. And here we are almost 2 weeks later, and nothing has changed. Like nothing changed at all. So what do you do in a situation like that? How would you suggest handling something like that?
Yeah, that's discouraging. I mean, I totally get that. Yeah, there's some things you can do. What is the thing that you want them to start doing? Mainly is that you're not doing a good thing I need, or you are doing a bad thing I don't need. So what is it?
So I had basically just discussed with my boyfriend. He has an extraordinarily high pressure job. He's a professional football coach, and the season just started. All the camps just started. Sure. And even during off season, he told me when we very first started dating that, it's very difficult for him to communicate, very regularly, but he wanted me to know that his level of communication with me was in no way indicative of how much he thought about me. And in the beginning, he checked in with me often. Are you sure you're okay with this level of communication? So just meaning that, he
phone calls, text
and call all day long.
I'm here and I care and all that. Okay. All right. So what happened?
So fast forward to 7 months later, and we hit a period where I literally didn't hear a word from him for almost 2 weeks. And
how local or dislocal is he from you, Stacy?
I'm sorry?
How local or remote is he from you? Does he live next door to you? Or does he live a continent away?
No, he lives up in Pennsylvania. So he's about 3.5 hours away.
Okay, so it's quite a ways. Okay, so he went radio silent for 2 weeks, and that was not the deal you talked about, right?
Right. We had been communicating definitely more frequently than that, seeing each other more frequently. And when we did, so after that time period, it turned out everything was actually fine. He had some health issues pop up unexpectedly. He had a little procedure, blah, blah, blah. And it was all very valid reasons, but he just kind of, I think because of his job and everything, he literally almost just kind of lives his life like 3 hours in advance. And if something's not on his radar in that time frame, he just really doesn't think about it. And I don't even think, to be honest with you, after talking to him, I don't even think he realized it had been that long, because he had so much going on in his life. But I just had asked him, I said, if there's ever going to be a situation like that where there's an extended period of time where you think, whether because of work or whatever, if you could just let me know on the front end of that rather than the back end, so I don't, think you fell in the ditch or, something terrible happened.
So let me know ahead of time. I'm not saying you got to be super regular, but let me know when you're going to the black hole. So you still be aware. And he goes, I'll be glad to. And then he doesn't do it.
Right. He said, thank you for letting me know that, blah, blah, blah. And we did talk a little bit since then, but it was always, I initiated it. And then I hate to say I tested him, but
is the relationships, is the nature and commitment of your relationship, Stacy, does it warrant this sort of conversation? Because if you're saying, oh, I also date 5 other guys, he dates 5 other gals, I would say it doesn't warrant it. But is it like exclusive and you all are moving closer kind of a thing? Or in other words, let me say it this way. Are you guys boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yeah. So we basically, from almost the first or second time we went out, he made it clear that he didn't want to date anybody else. He wasn't interested in that.
Okay. So you're exclusive. You're exclusive and it's committed.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's a reasonable request. So now you're saying, boundaries have been so hard for me in the first place, and I did it, and it was so difficult, and it didn't work. So now what?
Right. It was like the hardest thing I've ever had to muster
I know.
courage to do
Wow.
ever.
I'm glad that's over with. I didn't solve the problem. Okay.
Exactly. It did nothing.
All right. Let me tell you how this works. There is a second conversation, because sometimes these things aren't binary. I kind of agree with you about the guy. He sounds like a good guy. He gets over obsessed. He's like a cardiac surgeon that can't get out of things, but he's probably not used to being accountable in this kind of a thing. So it's new for him. I don't hear any malevolent stuff. I think he's just not in his brain. So I'm seeing him as kind of innocent about this. And so your job is to help him make him more aware, because he's not aware. So we're going to have a second conversation, and you're going to be Fred, and I'll be the skilled Stacy. All right.
Okay.
So this is not a call in the blue when he's in the middle of linebackers, going crazy and psycho.
Right.
It's got to be a chill time when you both, like, maybe we call each other at 7:30. So we're calling, and so, hey, Fred.
Hi.
You're him.
Yeah. Hi, babe. How was your day?
It was good. And I know yours is really busy, crazy too, with all what's going on in your career, right?
Yes. All kinds of action right now.
Yeah. Do you mind if we talk about something a little significant, like a you and me thing as well? I mean, I love hearing about each other's days, but it's kind of a wrinkle I want to deal with. Do you mind, Dave?
Sure.
Do you remember when a few weeks ago I said, if you're going to go down the black hole, I'm not some controlling, needy person that's, you got to be around me all the time. I love my independence. I love your independence. But I did say, since we're dating, we're exclusive, that if you're going to go into some commitment thing was going to be health or job or whatever, that you'd let me know. Remember when we had that conversation?
I do. Yeah.
You know where I'm going with this, Fred?
I think so. But could you refresh me?
Tell me where you think we're going to go on this so that we can fix it. Where do you think I'm going to go with this?
I think you're going to probably ask me to let you know if I'm not going to be able to talk to you every couple of days, or if I'm going to get super busy with work.
No, we've already established that. That was our conversation. And we agreed on that.
Right.
Right. So that's not what this conversation's about, because we already agreed on that.
Oh, okay.
Didn't we?
I thought we did. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not. We're going to talk about it didn't work, Fred. Didn't.
He's going to be in La La Land. I know. Yeah, this is how he is.
Whoa, Stacey, why is that statement? It's kind of innocuous. Why does it throw a professional football coach in La La Land? He's got other things that are knocking on La La Land besides that.
I know. It's just funny. I know.
Why did you kind of trigger on that little statement? Like, why do you afraid to react?
He's so, as I said, it would probably take the rest of your show to kind of explain the way his brain works. But like I said, he when I tell you he literally lives his life almost 3 hours out, that's about all that.
All I want you to do, just do what you were channeling Fred. So our plan didn't work, Fred. Now, what would he say to that? Just do whatever you do. You go with your gut. Our little plan didn't work, Fred.
I thought we talked last week.
Yeah, I don't want to get anal retentive about it, but there were 2 weeks where you didn't tell me you'd be gone for 2 weeks, and it was total nothing for 2 weeks, and that's a fact, sweetheart.
Oh, it's just been so crazy since camp started, and
Fred,
we're dealing with.
Fred, I love you. I don't need excuses. I'm committed to you. I'm committed to us, but I need a change. So something in our little agreement's not working. So I have an idea. I will not be that needy girlfriend. I'm not that, but I do want respect and responsibility from you. So what about this? Is your career such that you can tell me, we talk, often, let's say beginning of the week, because Sunday or Monday is when people plan up their life. And on one of our Sunday calls, just say, how's the week looking? If you go crazy, psycho, no way, great. But let's just do a check-in. And I'll tell you how my week is. I don't have the pressure you have. But let's just do a check-in on our little fun conversations where we not see each other on Sunday and Monday and say that. And I'll be the one to say, how's it look? Would that help you to be more aware of all this?
That would help so much. That would help so much. Absolutely.
Let me do it temporarily, sweetheart. I don't want a man that I've got to constantly remind to think about me. That won't work. Okay. But it's new for you and new for us. And I'm willing to do it for 6 weeks to see if you start going, oh, I better tell Stacey I won't be here. And then I want you to, I talked to this crazy psychologist. He said, internalize it. And weeks, I will hope that the habit will be internalized. So you'll do it automatically because you love me and I love you. But let's do a 6 weeks where we just kind of have that structure. And then I think I'm happy and I think you'll be happy. How's that work?
I think that sounds great. I think that'll help.
Okay, Stacey.
I actually think you would like that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's kind of positive because I feel like he's innocent. He's not some gaslighting idiot. So I like it. But Stacey always our producer, Stacey, always records this. So kind of go through it and talk through it. And you've already done one boundary talk. That was scarier. The first one's always the scariest. So I think you'll have the wherewithal to do a good job. And I hope it goes well for you, Stacey.
Well, thank you so much. That was so helpful. And you're right. He's a good person. He's a Christian. He doesn't have a mean bone in his body. He's just, I said, he's a bit of an airhead.
There's no nuclear part here. I think it's going to be a good conversation. So good luck with that.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful to chat with you. I'm going to definitely listen to this back, and I'm gonna give this another try. I appreciate it so much.
Okay. Good talking to you. Oh my gosh, don't we have problems when boundaries are hard? It makes us anxious. Our BP raises up and our stress goes up to 11 and what we call amygdala hijacking. We're a fight or flight. And after the first time with somebody you care about, this is a rational person, you go, well, that wasn't so bad. But that first time's hard. By the way, speaking of first times, the first time we haven't done this in a few months, we have an event called Ultimate Leadership. Henry Cloud and I work with a nonprofit called Growth Schools in Southern California. And there's a week-long event where leaders come in and they need whatever they need, transformation, they need new information, whatever, but it's a highly intensive breakthrough-based thing. He and I speak at it because we have incredible leadership facilitators that say, let's get a small group, take the leadership hat off, you're a person, what's going on? And it gets rave reviews. And the next one's going to be September 12th through 16th. So Stacey's throwing on the thrown on the link there. But if you're a leader and you want to get better to what you're at, or you got to struggle, that's what we're built. We've been doing it 20 years, and it's just phenomenal. And I'll be there. So that happens. Okay, Stacy, who's up?
Okay, let's see who we have next. Caller, you are
Hi.
live on the Dr. Townsend Live Show. Go ahead with your first name and tell Dr. Townsend where you're from.
Sure. Hi, Dr. Townsend.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and there's a
Hello.
beep. Look, can you hear me okay?
It's gone. It's gone.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna,
I can hear you fine.
if you're in a hospital,
My
and
name is.
if you're a hospital
No,
and if you're coding and that beat means that your heart's not beating, I want you to get off the phone and handle that. So
Oh, you're still funny. It is so good to hear your voice again, and good to see you as well.
okay, name and
Thanks
location.
for taking. Oh, my name. I'm sorry. My name is Tony. And what else did you need to know?
Like where you are in the world.
Oh, I'm in the state of Maryland.
Okay. Hi, Tony. Good to talk to you again. What's up today? What's your question?
So I wanted to ask you something, and I want two kind of questions. I want to know if I'm handling something right, and if there's any other additional advice you could give me. So I have a sister. We grew up together. She's in her late 50s, and I'm in my early 60s. We come from a dysfunctional home. We both have worked really hard on ourselves. I actually believe that she's worked even harder. We've done things like Celebrate Recovery. We've gone to therapy. We've gone to adult parents of alcoholism, all of those types of things. We've looked into codependency. And long story short, she got married about, maybe close to 13 years, 14 years ago. And her husband, we were all a little bit suspect of him, but we gave him a chance. And there's been 3 times my sister has stopped talking to me, and it's all been around her husband. Her husband is a kind of a man who only wants to be around people that he can control or he can heavily influence. He says he's an attorney, but not so long ago,
Some of that
I
therapy
found out he was
recovery
pretending.
didn't take, Tony.
Beg your pardon?
I was musing on the fact that it sounds like some of that great therapy and Celebrate Recovery, that great teaching, that didn't take if she's picking a guy that's that toxic. I mean, like I always say, sometimes people's people picker was pooped. Sound like your sister's people picker was pooped.
Oh, I've never heard that before. Well, she's very healthy in every area of her life.
Okay.
She's raising her granddaughter, and he's helping her. So long story short, I told her, that he had been a little inappropriate with me, and she stopped talking to me, and then she started talking to me again.
Like mean or sexual or what?
Oh, he touched me inappropriately. Like, he would just get a little bit too close and put his hands and be a bit too familiar. When I told her that,
you made her aware, and so she cancels you, right?
She canceled me, and so the second time she started talking to me, I was not allowed to come to her home, but she could come to mine. And I said, "Why not?" She said, "My husband isn't comfortable with you." And I said, "Remember, I'm the one who should be uncomfortable." She canceled me. So it happened again about 2.5 months ago. But this time it happened with my 23-year-old daughter. She has a really successful nursing agency, and my daughter was working for her. And her husband was showing up at my daughter's job because she was sitting with a patient. And he does deliver some supplies, but he was bringing unnecessary supplies, and he was like cornering her and motioning with his finger like he wanted to satisfy her sexually, pulling her in by her waist.
What?
And then the last thing that happened, and I'm almost done, he came unexpectedly to visit her at the patient's home, and he touched her again, and my daughter went into a complete panic attack. But it didn't happen for like maybe 3 or 4 hours later. But he was the only person to take her to the emergency room. Of course, he didn't know. She's been too uncomfortable to tell him. But the whole ride to the ER, when he took her, he had his hand resting on her upper thigh. So I told my sister about all of this. She completely cut me off.
Okay. Now
And so
I've got the picture.
I don't know what to do.
He's not an okay guy, but tell me, what's the question? Because this is a big deal. What's the question?
Well, the question is, so I simply told her in a text message, it really hurts when she keeps abruptly just ending our relationship and we never talk. And I asked her if we could please have proper closure, even if, she doesn't want to discuss that.
Right.
And then she called my daughter, her niece, and tried to gaslight her. And so my niece was like, no, you're wrong. So my question, I haven't said anything. I've just been keeping it in prayer because I don't believe there's anything that I could possibly do to change the situation. So I'm leaving it be, and I'm just, trying to go about my life. And I'm very wounded. So that's what I've been doing. Do you have any other advice?
Yeah, you're so far so good. So your question is, besides prayer, is there anything I can do?
Yeah, I mean, I know that my daughter has we could take them to court, and all, but it's more than that. It's a family issue, and certain family members have now cut me and my daughter off because he has got everybody fooled, and they believe them and not us. My daughter's just turned 23.
She's not a minor. Okay, he's inappropriate with an adult. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I kind of see the question. Like, should I make something out of this because he's really toxifying our entire family, or should I just pray and because my sister so easily cancels me?
I think that a part of her has to know this is true. I mean, I think that a wife knows, but I think that she just doesn't want to give up the marriage and the fact that he's helping her, and several other ways. I don't even know how to explain it. He's just a very sneaky, cunning. He's like a con artist, but he presents very well, Dr. Townsend.
I know. You got a lot of supportive people here, by the way, on all our mini chat lines. Somebody's to get a background check. I'm kind of thinking that here's my concern, Tony.
Uh-huh.
I'm not an attorney and I'm not a law enforcement officer, but
Sure.
my concern is this guy doing, some of this is because some of this stuff be considered sexual abuse. So
Oh, absolutely.
well, that means it becomes a medical legal / problem. So I think what I would do, and you might say, well, I don't want to go that far, which nobody would.
Just keep in mind, she won't take any calls from me.
Well, she would take this one if I told you, which would be,
I'm listening.
sis, text or whatever. Something happened when your husband addressed my daughter, and we're so upset by what could be considered sexual abuse or harassment. I don't know the legal terms, but
I think it's harassment. Mm-hmm.
All right, but and after you get off the call with me, go to them because I don't know the wordage and you need to know this. So make sure somebody in the legal world goes, like an attorney or something or a cop, and says, yeah, you might have something here. And if they go, yeah, there's something substantive here. If they go, you can't do anything, he's just kind of dirty old guy. Well, that's a different conversation. But I'm worried because you see that, which means it's probably happening to a lot of people, right? And not only your family. And I would say, sis, I've looked into this, and there may be legal proceedings regarding your husband. You don't have to answer me. And I know that sometimes you don't answer me, but if you don't, then these things will just happen apace. If I were you, I'd want to have a conversation with me about this, but you choose. I love you. So you're saying to her, I can't choose for you, but I do have evidence from the legal world and the law enforcement world that there could be a case. If she's in the right mind, she'll call you and say, what the heck? And you'll say, here's the deal, and you'll work it out. But if she's still so afraid of like losing him and she's in denial, then you like I said, I was talking earlier on another call, you can't be bluffing. You got to be ready. So I kind of took it to I'm not catastrophizing, Tony, but I hear stuff like this, and I think there's probably 20 things under this. So check that out first with the right authorities, and then make your decision. That's where I go with Tony. But so far, you're doing a great thing with it. So good luck with that.
All right. I appreciate that. And again, it's wonderful to have you back.
Glad to be back. Thanks, Tony. Oh, it's so hard.
Absolutely.
But the thing about it is, Stacy, is avail yourselves of the resources. We're not, you don't live in most of our detailed family is not in a country that has no resources. Avail yourself of therapists and of attorneys and of law enforcement people. There are systems set up for this kind of really bad behavior. Anyway, hope things go well, Tony.
Me too. Me too. Lots of encouragement going on the media channels.
You bet. By the way, reverting back to my little new obsession, which is the if you like this approach that we do here, about relationships and character and going deeper and finding solutions and all this stuff, like that's where this all material comes from. This is the kind of stuff that people learn in a professional level, on an academic level at the Townsend Institute, where you can get a fully accredited graduate program degree in either counseling, be it counselor, private practice, or organizational leadership, run your own business, your own entrepreneur thing. You can be a pastor if you want, or in executive coaching and consulting, which is kind of where so much is going there, because coaching has turned out, the research says it's very effective. We have a master's in all three of those, plus their certificate if you don't want to get a master's, plus the counselor's program now has a PhD. And so we're all filled up for the fall, but we'll be taking new students in January, February next year. But if this is your time to say, I'm ready for my 2.0, I want more skills, I want a new great career. Our students are getting phenomenal careers. We had one tell me that she's a Christian counselor in the Midwest, and she said, my peers are asking me to supervise them because I'm learning so much of this growth model, which is kind of our secret sauce, the model we use for growth, is they're asking me for help. So throw it out there. Love to hear from you. And I like the next step. Anywho.
All right. Caller, welcome to the Dr. Townsend Live Show. You are live with Dr. Townsend. Go ahead with your first name and where you're calling us from.
Hi, my name is Kim. I'm calling from Toronto, Canada.
Is it Kim or Ken or?
Kim, K-I-M.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for calling.
Hi, thank you. I really appreciate you taking my call. I have a general question. It's about boundaries. But
Kim, I don't know what that word means. I've never heard it.
Thank you for teaching me so much already. I have a kind of a difficult past, and sometimes when I meet people, you get to know them and they ask very general questions like, have you ever had any children, and do you have any family? I had one child who died. That's a real conversation stopper, and also not something you want to start with over, a community meal. I don't know how to answer questions that just sort of, I don't want to be dishonest, but one of the proverbs that I like is an honest answer is like a kiss on the lips. In other words, just because you just met me doesn't mean I want to kiss you.
Right. Gotcha. So what's the question about that, Kim?
Well, how do I answer people without lying? Like, I don't want a fence. I kind of want a garden gate just to see how, friendships develop. But I also don't know how to reply to people when they say, oh, do you have any family? Because, it's like I said, it's a very complicated conversation stopping kind of conversation.
Right. First off, let's set some ground rules, because this kind of thing comes up a lot, Kim. There's deception, which obviously you don't want to be deceptive. That's why you're calling. How do I do that feeling deceptive? This is on one side, okay? Over here is what I would call comprehensive truth. Comprehensive truth means if Kim says to me, what time is it? Then I go, well, in Sweden it's 7:00, but Kim, in Antarctica it's 3:00, and and then the Pacific, So I lie to you over here, and there's comprehensive truth over here, which is all truth about that. And then the middle is what I call discernment truth. And so you don't, number one, you can't like tell people not to do that. That's how people get to know each other. You got pets, you got kids, everybody does that. And it's just sometimes it's really awkward for people that are either single or don't have kids, but it's just going to happen. We can't stop that. You don't want to be deceptive, but you don't want to say, well, yeah, I had a child die and it devastated my life. You don't want to do that either. So we got to figure out what's the discerning truth answer where you're being honest, but you're not giving him the entire, Wikipedia version. I mean, let's just kind of work this out together. What if if they said, do you have kids? What if you said no? How about you?
Yeah.
Would that work?
Sometimes that can work. Sometimes, but sometimes people will be like, "Oh, why don't you have any children?" Or
okay, you know what? We got to do this. You be
okay.
that really nice, kind of low EQ, kind of intrusive, nosy person that's not a mean, malevolent person, but they're kind of clueless about sensitivities, and I'll show you how to handle her. She's probably a nice person, but very low EQ, okay? So we've just met, we're at a party or some church or whatever, and so you like her, and so she starts the interrogation. Let's start. So anyway, so good to meet you, Francis. I'm glad to be here.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, Kim. So I am Kim. I'm good, Francis.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But I'm glad we had a chance to meet. How's life been? How have you been?
Oh, things
start
are
getting
pretty
those.
good. I noticed that you're really good with the kids here. How many kids do you have?
I have none. That's why I love working here. I just love working with these kids. It kind of fills my heart up.
Oh, I'm really surprised because, like I said, you're really, really good with kids. And, is there any reason that you don't have any?
Well, I don't think we know each other well enough to kind of go there. Maybe sometime later.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And she turns around and slams the door.
No, that's a good reply.
Well,
I honestly never thought of that.
Yeah, it's sort of like that's what that middle ground I'm trying to create for us between comprehensive truth and deception of discernment truth is we do owe the truth when we have to say the truth, but it's up to us to say the truth in a way that doesn't divulge other stuff we don't want. It'll be like if she says, so I love Kim, I love how you handle the bank. What's your social security number? What would you say? Right.
Well, probably I don't know.
Okay, no, that's a different issue. But the way relationships are constructed, you're talking about this top level, and there's many relationships go to deeper levels. Like there's this great proverb that says, deep calls into deep. Suppose Frances, over the process of 6 months, you're meeting every now and then, and she's talking about her own divorce, or she's got a struggling kid, or she's got a draw problem. You might feel more comfortable in 6 months to say, by the way, I've got a heartbreak too, and you're a person that's kind of like I can feel safer with. Absolutely, but it hasn't passed the test of time yet. So you're not being mean or anything, but you're saying, yeah, I don't really talk about those people I just met, but maybe sometime later. And then she gets the message. If she's got any kind of EQ at all, she'd get the message.
Okay.
That's where I go with it.
All right. That is great advice. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're fine. Take care.
You have a great day.
She's right. You probably get rid around some people.
Absolutely.
What's your most shameful secret? I just met you. You are my most shameful secret. Don't do that.
Once you start flexing that no muscle, it becomes second nature, though.
I guess you're saying it's easier for you now than it was before?
100%.
It's 100% better. It is
Oh, yes. Yes. I love the word no. Or that doesn't work for me. That's my favorite statement.
That doesn't work for me. It's pretty good. That was a good one.
Yes.
So we have all these kind of boundary statements that just kind of get you out of trouble so you can have your life and all that. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. Welcome to the Dr. Townsend Live Show. You're live with Dr. Townsend. Go ahead with your first name and tell us where you're calling from. Are you with us, caller?
Looks like Joy.
Joy, are you with us?
Well, Joy, call back.
Okay, maybe she'll give us a shout back.
Sure.
Okay, next up. Okay, welcome to the Dr. Townsend Live Show. You're live with Dr. Townsend. Go ahead with your first name and tell us where you're calling from.
My name is Mark Myers. I'm calling from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Hi, Mark Myers. You're an old friend.
Hey, John. How are you, buddy?
I am good. Guys, Mark is just a wonderful guy. He's a great Christian businessman. He's done wonderful things in that period, and he likes the right kind of music. That's why we connect.
Yeah, the music. Well,
So,
I have a question.
Sure.
I think you know a little bit of history about my son, who's a convicted felon and has had a rough road at the age of 41. Still making questionable choices in terms of job choices and
Sure.
financial choices and stuff. Got himself in a big jam recently and went to his mom for a sizable loan to pay off back rents and stuff. So I wrote him a note just encouraging him to make better choices and try to plan for a career for the future and so on. And he went off and...
I mean, in other words, you wrote him an encouraging note, but you didn't write him a check, right?
Correct.
Okay, got you.
But his mom did. And she needs the money. I mean, but they have a 5-year-old, and it's her only grandson, and she doesn't want the grandson homeless, which is reasonable. But in any event, he went off on me and about who am I to judge him, and calling me a fake Christian and so on. And you know what? You have no right to criticize anybody and all those kinds of things. And he's I know I told you that he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
So he sounded pretty mad during the deal. But I'm just trying to navigate my way to find out how to approach him to help him to make better choices, because it doesn't seem like I'm able to come up with anything that works well.
This is hard, Mark. I mean, you've been over backwards for your child. What was it like on a feeling level when you just want to encourage him but not enable him, and he blows up at you and calls you awful things? How did that affect your heart?
Well, it's obviously hurtful and it's disappointing, and more than anything else, it just, my heart aches for him because he's kind of stuck in that world of he just can't take any feedback at all because it threatens it.
Yeah. Let me tell you kind of when I get these sort of adult child things between a parent and the parent saying, how can I help this adult child have made a better choice? Let me kind of give you a perspective on that. First off, the term adult child, Mark, is an oxymoron. It's impossible because the word child means dependent and adult means independent. So there's adults that aren't functioning, but they're not. I mean, I understand the histories, but they're not adults or children. They're adults who are acting like children or feeling like children. Now, your son's got, the things about the prison and the bipolar, he's got a lot of struggles. But what I always tell folks in that dilemma is you need to be certainly always encouraging, always praying. But there's two things you can do. And neither one of them are fixing that child. You know enough, you know our system very well. You know the growth model very well. You're trained in it. But you know that there's a way to enable this, and enabling is bad. But there are a couple things. And one is to have some kind of reparation of the conversation, which you got to be the big man for, because you say, and we talk about what happened. I need to have a respectful conversation with you, but I want to reconcile this. And he may call you bad things again, and that can hurt a parent. But I always think when that happens, be the adult. Don't ever let yourself get abused, but be the parent or be the grown-up, I should say, not the parent, be the grown-up and say, you know, Mike, I want to work this out. And then if you get him back, so he kind of feels like even though dad didn't give me any money, even though he did encourage me to do whatever, he's still my dad. Then what you do is you just say, let me know if I can give you any resources or ideas. Want me money? Money thing's over, but I know people. Mark, you're very well networked in the whole state. I know people who can help you either career-wise, counseling-wise, financial-wise. Maybe there's a Dave Ramsey guy, but that's what I would do with it. I would repair, and then I'd say, I'm not going to fix it, but I know people who could do that with it. You become a referral source, and if he wants to help, he gets it. You know, it's like when Jesus said, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, I wish I could have put you under my wings like a hen does her chick, but you were not. God gets it. God's kids are still saying he's a bad guy. Look at the world. And your sons can always do that. But in terms of being able to sleep at night and know you did everything you could, there's the prayer. There's the reconcile that conversation so that you're better on the same page in there. Let me know if I can resource you another bunch of people. That's where I would go. Okay, Mark?
Yeah, and that's, I appreciate that advice because I have been able in the past to refer him to people and to help hook him up that's actually helped. But at this point, I have to wait for him to cool off. At this point, he's so...
Oh, yeah. Especially if he's bipolar and not on his meds or whatever. Yeah, you got to wait for the cool off. And you're really, one thing I like about you, since I know you, is you don't personalize stuff that's crazy. You don't make yourself the bad guy, which is good. You know, he's got character issues, he's got chemical issues. So let him cool off and then say, can we, you know, we're father, son, can we reconcile? Let's have a conversation. If he refuses that, you just keep waiting. But that's where I would go with Mark.
That sounds great. I really appreciate it.
All right, buddy. I'll say a little prayer for him.
Thank you. Be well.
Oh gosh, it's so
difficult.
hard when you see somebody's life going over a cliff, and then if they ask you to enable them and rescue them, and you say, I can't do that because I've done it before, it doesn't work. Oh, you're preaching at me, you're judging me. And then it's, you know, here's the hard part is when you do thoughtfully what the right thing is, and you get trash for that. I think that's how God feels with 7 billion of us. He's bringing grace and all this stuff to us, to our life and truth. And we say, you're not fair. I don't believe in you. I said, what must happen to him? I mean, I feel so much what Mark's going through. Anyway.
Right.
Okay.
So many people encouraging him to on the media chats on the different platforms. Okay,
Which
it looks
is
like
why I love our little community, Stacy.
Oh, it's great.
Hey, I'm on your side. Try this. I'm praying for you. I mean, I love how people are so warm and vulnerable and open and want to see people grow. Can I preach about something I want to bring out for 30 seconds before we get the next call?
It's your show.
There's a term I want to get in all our heads. I mean, think about it. A lot of friends of mine had got together for happy hour yesterday. He used a wonderful term, and he said, and it's one that I used, but I really hadn't used it that much. And Dennis said, so-and-so has a growth mindset. We talked about that extensively. A growth mindset. And I want us to think about that because there's two kinds of people in the world, really. There's those who go, I want to improve. I want to change. I'm going to read books. I'm going to go to conferences. I'm going to have conversations. I'm going to try things. I'm going to go to counseling. I'm going to get coaching, blah, blah, blah. A growth mindset means I'm not going to just be on this blob, you know, called planet Earth, and then that's it. People that don't have a growth mindset, they're not bad people. They're not bad people, but there's no thought about self-improvement. It's sort of like, well, I want a good job, and I want to go to church once a week and have 2.5 kids and play some golf, and then I'll die. Well, I get it, but where you want to be is you want to have a growth mindset. Jesus said in Matthew 5, he said, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. If you want the right life where it's all different because you see things better, get a growth mindset. How do I start growing? Who do I start talking to be a better transformed or better, healthier, or self-helped person or whatever it is, watch out for I'll eat 3 squares a day and raise some kids, and I'll see some movies, and I'll go to church and put some money in the plate. It can be a lot better than that. A growth mindset is something you want to have, you want your kids to have, you want your grandchildren to have. That's what makes the world go round. It's a wonderful, wonderful term.
Absolutely. Okay, John. So Zoom is telling me they're experiencing technical difficulties. So those of you that have been trying to call in the last few minutes and you have gotten a busy signal, hang in there, try us back. We have a few minutes left. In the meantime, I'm going to go to some of the questions from people that are not able to call in, but they have written in questions. So this one comes from Julie over on Instagram, John, and she says that.
Are you going to read every single word?
Well, maybe.
Because I want to make sure I get all the data here. Because we Stacey always talk about this. We love the calls, and we love it when you text your call. But sometimes I'll go, I wish I could just ask this person one more question because there's not enough information. We'll see.
Yes. Okay. So she says, John, I have 2 daughters that are 15 years apart. The oldest is already out of the house and living her own young adult life. But unfortunately, she's making some choices that my husband and I don't quite agree with, and we don't like the influence that she is placing over onto our younger daughter. They're very close with each other, and we don't want to deteriorate their relationship, but we also do not want our daughter thinking that it's okay to do some of the things that her bigger sister is participating in. How do we set a boundary without causing an issue in the relationship?
I have like 12 questions I want to ask you, Julie, but we don't have the opportunity because June was super crazy.
And that is the whole question.
Julie, I don't think it's a boundary question. Because a boundary means you want to stop something that's, you want to stop the influence, but it's not really a boundary question. I would do 2 things, Julie, you and your husband. One, as I would go to your younger daughter and say, you love Meredith. She's a great person. We love her. She's our daughter, but we don't always agree on what's important. We know that she's making choices that we don't agree with, and they are this, this, and this. And what do you think about them? Don't preach at a kid yet. Just say, what do you think about it? You get a lot more information when you say, what do you think about it? Then you're not going la, la, la on you because you're preaching. Preaching comes later. And she might say, well, the same sex stuff and the drug stuff and the living with a guy stuff or whatever. And then you go, right, we understand that. And we have a different viewpoint, and she's an adult too, but we want to tell you where we are, and we're happy to help you with learning what the research says about it or what the Bible says about it, and talk it through you, because you'll be with us another 7 years, and we love you, want to train you. So honey, you've got 2 sources of information. Your sister, whom we love but don't agree with. Other things we agree with are on, but that's one source of information for you, and you're a smart person, you're learning, but we're a source of information too. So I always want to make sure we're not condemning anybody, but we'll be glad to help you. In other words, what you're saying is it's about getting both sides. The second thing I would do, as I probably say to thinking about this, depending on the character of your older daughter, this is, you got to figure this out because I can't ask you this. If your older daughter is like just got different values, but she loves her sister and she respects you guys, I would also say, let's see, Meredith is the little girl, so the big girl's going to be Josefina. I'd also tell Josefina that the older girl, we're trying to raise her a certain way, you know that, and we love you, what you do in some ways, we're on the same page. We don't agree with the other stuff. Could you really not influence her that way? Now, she may go, yeah, that's fine. I'll just talk about the things that aren't, because I know you guys are great parents. Great. If she's got that kind of character, then you probably save some trouble. But if she goes, I'll do what I want to do, or else she sneaks around, that's a problem. But depending on her character, to do that part. So that second part is to be decided, Julia. But the first part, absolutely. And that's the most important part. Have the talk with your younger daughter. Because the thing about it is there'll be other people Besides, when you think about it, in her life that you'll never meet that are influencing her, from social media to crazy kids at school or whatever, or adults. And you can't be always vigilant to say who'd you talk to. So you're training her to go, I'm listening, and here's the stuff I agree with, and you're helping her develop healthy values. So don't frantically try to stop all the influx of bad stuff. I mean, we all have to control social media with our kids, but concentrate on her, building her up, helping her just decide right and wrong, ethical things, biblical things, because of the training you're giving. That's where I'll go.
That's great advice. Okay, we have just a few minutes left, and we do have callers in the queue, but unfortunately, probably not enough time to do the callers justice on their answers. So callers, come on back with us next Wednesday. I believe we are back next Wednesday. No, we are not back next Wednesday, Wednesday after that. But for now, I want to give you another question from your Facebook Live feed. And it's also from Julie, and it's kind of relating to the e-blast that went out on respect. And she says, in my relationship with my husband, when things upset him, he defaults often to anger. How do I continue to respect him, yet keep my own boundaries? This is a topic that comes up quite a bit.
Let's clarify what respect means. There's two things you're supposed to respect means basically to give honor to something, right? And so you give honor to two things in a person. You give honor to their role in your life. Like you respect your husband because he has that role. He should respect you because you're his wife. It means you're in this special relationship. So that's the role. And you respect things that their behavior does that are respectable. Helping you out, loving you, listening to you, caring about you, asking how you're doing, sacrificing for you. So you respect the role and you respect the behavior. Nowhere does it say to respect out of control rage. Anger is anger. But if he's coming uncorked and you're the recipient of it, I think it's disrespectful, Julia, to think, well, he is my husband, I'll put up with it. That's disrespectful because basically you're helping him to get more entitled. He can do that with anybody, and you're not being nice to yourself. So I respect you. Keep making up these first names. I respect you, Xerxes, as my husband, the guy that God gave me. I respect it when you care about me, you tell the truth. I don't respect this behavior, and I'm not going to tolerate it. We got to talk about it. You have not crossed the line into disrespect when you say, I'm all in for respecting the role and the good behavior. Don't respect the bad behavior. Keep those separate in your head.
Okay, I think you've got time for one more that's coming in on your feed as you were speaking.
Don't make it complicated, Stacy. Make it.
I won't make it complicated. And I know
a Reader's Digest version.
Okay. This one comes from Diane on Facebook, and she says, hi, Dr. Townsend. What can I do with a husband who is very indifferent to me? He does hurtful things and does not seem to care how it impacts me and has very little remorse or empathy.
Yeah, that's a 30-second question. Great, Stacy. Thank you. All right, Diane, I'm sorry, by the way. We're having fun, but that's not fun. I have these 4 levels of severity. I want you to think through. There's normal, mild, moderate, severe. Normal means he's attentive to you. Mild means he's a little bit detached. Moderate means he's pretty detached. And severe means he won't even consider you. And it sounds like he's, my gut listening to it, he's probably the moderate to severe level. Nah, it might be not severe. But here's what you do is the first thing you do is you make yourself aware of, make him aware of, and you come in vulnerably. Almost always first is like, by the way, I'm lonely and I miss you and I miss us and I want more. Some people respond, a mild will respond to that and go, I know I'm a robot and I'm sorry and I want to work on it. If there's other character stuff involved, then you got to go to the other level. So you start with vulnerability. I need you and I want you and I'll be able to change for you and you change for me. Second one is I can't stand this too much longer. I'm so lonely. I'm going to go get some help. What do you mean? I'm going to go get a marital therapist and I want you to go. Well, I don't do that. Okay. Xerxes, I'm going to go get a marital therapist and we'll talk about you. You're welcome, but I'll be talking about strategy I have to deal with you. A certain percentage of your husbands or spouses will go, I want to go to that. Someone will say, I don't care. Then you go to the therapist. You say, what do I do? I'm dying. I'm lonely. And the therapist says, okay, Diane, you seem to be severe. So the therapist says, we're going to make you as healthy as possible, Diane. And also, there are some boundaries you may need to set. And in boundaries in marriage, we talk about that. But it's the vulnerability, and then it's the, I'm going to do something about it, the warning. Then there's the act of doing it. And then it goes to, you may, the way we phrase it in the book, Henry Cloud and I do, is there may be things you want from me that may be not forthcoming because I'm warm. Maybe I'll be out with my girlfriends, my healthy girlfriends 3 nights a week. Maybe I'm a great cook. Well, whatever. Maybe that won't be available. You have to microwave because you're not nice to me. I got to get life from somewhere. If you just don't see me, then I'll be out with my friend. I'm not going to be doing bad stuff, but I'll be with other people that give me life. You're my first choice. If it's that I listen to you, how can I listen to you when you're, in other words, you figure out, and here's the whole idea about boundaries. And I know we got to go. Boundaries is taking away something they love or adding something they don't like. Think about a 10-year-old. You're either taking away their phone or the kind of, let's say you're 13-year-old, taking away their phone, or you're adding chores. You got to figure out what works for the person. Good luck. Anyway, great show. Thanks for being here, everybody. Love, again, I guess I'm mostly moved by all the community helping people that are on the show, taking the risk and stuff. So have a good 2 weeks. See you.